Let's unmute myself there. There we go. All right, good morning. We're going to get started here. So a reminder, this session is being recorded, and yes, a playback link will be emailed to you. So you might be watching this live. You may have missed the live recording, but you're watching the playback. But at any rate, I'll make sure to get the instructions to you, how you can watch the recording. And also, if you'd like to download a copy of the slides, I'll make those available to you as well. My name is Brenda Meller with Meller Marketing, and I'm pleased that you're joining me here today to learn about how to use LinkedIn for your job search. This is a Power 30 webinar, which means in 30 minutes, we're going to cover a couple of different topics to help you on your job search. So whether you are unemployed and in career transition, or maybe you're working but looking for your next career, I want to give you some guidance and resources to be able to help you along the way. Now, I'm pretty good at teaching LinkedIn, but I'm not amazing. What I mean is I can't teach you everything within 30 minutes. So if you do need some additional instruction, if you'd like some one-on-one help, I do have that available to you as a service, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit later on in today's webinar. You'll see on screen that all webinar participants will be in listen-only mode. So if you have any questions, just use the private chat function to communicate with me, and I'll stop recording at the end, and then we'll open up Q&A for anybody who does have any questions about using LinkedIn for job search. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Agenda's on the screen now. We'll start with some introductions. I'll talk to you about myself, give you guys a chance to introduce each other and to communicate through chat. And I would encourage you, wherever you're watching this playback, if you're watching this live, use the chat function. If you're watching this in playback, you can still use the YouTube comment section to introduce yourself. Drop in your LinkedIn URL. I'll give you instructions on that in just a minute. So be sure to use that introduction feature wherever you're watching the webinar, if there is a chat function or a comment section on the post. So today we'll be walking through 5 profile optimization tips. And these 5 tips are going to help you to supercharge what you're doing right now to use LinkedIn for job search. We're going to talk about invitation strategy and posting strategy as well. And again, at the end, I'll give you some instructions if you do need some additional LinkedIn help from me. I have a variety of different ways and resources that you can obtain that help. Chat Q&A, use that throughout to communicate with me and communicate with other participants in the session. All right, so let's get started. And I'm pulling out my clock right now. I always have my phone nearby here. And when I start these sessions, I like to kind of give it a few minutes before I ask people to introduce themselves. And I do this for 2 reasons, really. You know, one is that many people aren't on the session when it first gets started. They're coming out of another meeting. They're filling up their cup of coffee. They're not on in front of the computer. Maybe the volume's not on just quite yet. So I like to give it a few minutes before people get in the room. And this is a technique I would highly encourage that you do in every session. So not just today. I want to use this technique in every webinar that you go into in the future, but always give it about 5 minutes. Sometimes the meeting host will say, hey, let's introduce each other in chat. Let's use the chat function right now. If they don't do that, still take the opportunity. And I'll sometimes do the introduction of myself in chat, and I'll say, hope it's okay to put this here. And usually the meeting host will say, absolutely, go ahead, everybody, introduce yourself. So I'd like you guys to do that right now. If you're watching this live, go into chat, tell people as a job seeker, what are you looking for? So what's your targeted job title? What's the targeted geographic area you want to work in? And then what is your LinkedIn URL? And what I like to do, guys, is I actually will copy this and just have this available on my desktop. And that way I can just copy and paste it in when I'm inside a webinar or a chat session, anything like that. And I've just put it out. I'm not looking for a job, but this would be an example. If I was looking for a position, I am seeking a marketing director position in Metro Detroit, and then I would drop my URL in there. And I want to show you this technique real quick here. I'm going to pull my LinkedIn up on screen. To get to your LinkedIn URL, guys, this is how you do it. So starting out at the home page, you can either click on the in symbol or that little house symbol to get to home. And then you'll see your profile in the left navigation. Just click on your name or your photo. And then you're going to notice in the address bar at the top, that's your LinkedIn URL. Okay, now I'm going to show you this technique right now. If I copy just from the L before LinkedIn.com through the end of the address, and if I were to drop that into chat right now, I'm going to practice this right now while I'm describing this. If I drop that into chat, you would see on the Zoom that if I do not include the HTTPS, it is not blue and it's not clickable. Okay, so make sure that when you are dropping in your introduction, you are using that version that has the HTTPS. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this whole introduction, drop this in chat right now just to show you guys as an example of how to do this introduction. And again, what we're looking for here is just you don't need to say, hi, my name is Brenda Meller, because Zoom already says your name, right? So just instead, you tell people, get very succinct on this, not your whole life story. Tell people what you're looking for, where you're looking for that position to be based out of, and then drop your LinkedIn URL. That it gives people the opportunity to invite you to connect with them on LinkedIn. And while you're doing that, I just want to take a moment to give you a bit of my background. I'm going to change my view back here. And I've been on LinkedIn for many, many years. I was probably one of the earlier adopters of the site. And I've been using LinkedIn over the years, primarily as a marketer, but I've also used it as a job seeker. And my LinkedIn success story actually started in 2008 when I was on the network and wanted to make a career change. And it was the height of the recession, if you remember that back then. Worst time to think about moving jobs if you were working, and I was working. So I decided to step up my efforts on LinkedIn, disconnected from my boss at the time. And then I found a position on LinkedIn, applied, made a direct connection with the hiring manager, and the rest is history. So I figured out way back then that this was really going to be changing the platform in terms of how you can find a job. And I was going to be avoiding that black hole of job search. I don't know about you guys, but I hate the black hole of job search. Absolutely hate it. If you hate it, drop in chat right now and tell me how much you hate the black hole of job search, or drop it in the comments wherever you're watching the playback. But it's kind of soul sucking, isn't it? When you're applying to job upon job upon job, you're never hearing anything back. It can be very frustrating. So I like the fact that you can use LinkedIn to communicate with actual live human beings and pull yourself through that job application process. So I do want to give you a couple of reminders here on LinkedIn. First, LinkedIn is evolving as a network. It's always changing. So make sure that as you're watching through, if your view looks a little different than my view, it's just because you don't have the latest feature yet. And the latest rollout is this new LinkedIn creator mode. I have it on my profile. You might not have it on yours. You might not even want it on yours, to be honest. But do keep in mind if yours looks different, just because we have different versions of LinkedIn. On that note too, if you do have the LinkedIn app on your phone, I highly recommend that you have that app on your phone. Make sure that you go in at least once a month and update the app, because you'll get the newer features in the mobile version, okay? And everyone has a different comfort level. Now, my goal is to move you, if you look at that cartoon on screen, move you from being that kind of anonymous person who's hanging out in the background on LinkedIn. I want to move you into the party. I want to bring you into those conversations and have you become a more active participant on the platform, not just while you're looking for a job, but ongoing basis. Okay. I really want to help you unlock the power of LinkedIn. And my hope is that you'll just be open to, hearing what I have to say today, kind of listen, take things in, decide for yourself what you're comfortable with. But I'm a big believer that if you want to get to that desired result, which is finding a new job, you've got to take action. And those activities that you do are going to help make progress, which is going to help you get closer and closer to that desired goal of finding a new job. And above all, we're going to avoid that black hole, right? So let's avoid that black hole of job search, and let's take control of our actions by using LinkedIn. So let's get started here right away. And what I want to do is we're going to start with the 5 actions you need to do on your LinkedIn profile right now, especially if you're in career transition or unemployed. I've been in your shoes. I know how it is. It's kind of overwhelming. You're like, what do I do first? Well, I'm going to give you just the basics here today. Okay. I'm going to teach you the right and the wrong way to send out a LinkedIn invitation. My guess is you're probably doing it the wrong way. So let me share with you the technique here today on how to improve the likelihood that more of those invitations will be accepted. And finally, we're going to talk about posting. What to post, why you should be posting to help supercharge your job search. And I'll give you a couple of ideas on what to post. Feel free, as we're going throughout the presentation, as you're watching the playback, if there's something that resonates with you, take a screen capture of it. Share that on LinkedIn. Tag me, tell people what you learned, why it was helpful. I will reply back to you. And if you're not super tech savvy with the screen capture, what you could do is just literally grab out your phone. It's got a camera on it, right? Turn your phone sideways and just take a nice horizontal picture. And that would work really well to share as a LinkedIn post as well. So feel free to do that if there's anything that resonates with you as we go throughout here. All right, so let's start with 5 profile tips to do right now. Okay, so 5 profile tips. And we're going to start with tip number 1. This involves your headshot photo. And your headshot photo is the very first impression you're giving of people when they see you on LinkedIn, whether you're appearing in a post or whether they visit your profile. And here's what I recommend. Your photo should be professional looking. Now, if you have access to a headshot photographer, great. But if not, at least make sure it's not a group photo where you got somebody's arm cropped out or you're wearing sunglasses or a baseball cap. This should be you at your professional best. And really, it's just a headshot. It's just head and shoulders in here. What I'm looking for is kind of what you would look like if you showed up in an interview, what you would look like if you came on a Zoom call for an interview, right? So you want to be professional looking. You can certainly go to a professional headshot photographer or just take a bunch of pictures on your camera phone, make sure it's mounted on a wall or bookcase or something like that, because we can tell the selfies. They always bring up that weird chin, right? So professional looking, pleasant, smiling. I love to see pleasant looking photos on LinkedIn. This is not the time to look fierce and antagonistic, right? You want to look professional, pleasant, and have a smiling photo. Your background should be clear or at least intentional. Sometimes I see like my friend Christopher's got like a doorway behind him, perfectly fine, sometimes greenery, but just make sure it's not like the backseat of your car or your kitchen wallpaper or anything like that. And then really important here too, make sure that your face from the top of your forehead to the bottom of your chin, that should be 50 to 60% of the circle. So what I would recommend, if you click on your photo on the desktop and click on edit, and then there's a little zooming tool and you can actually zoom and move in on it so you can crop it a little bit tighter. And what I like to look for is they give you this circle with the 9 squares and look at the middle square. Okay. What I like to do is line up my eyebrows with the top of that middle square. And then between my mouth and the bottom of my chin goes to the bottom of that middle square. If you do that, you've got that really nicely framed up. Your face is centered. And from the top of your forehead to the bottom of your chin, that's going to be 60% of the circle. Okay. Now this is important because of the fact that so many people are looking at our profiles on mobile, more than half the people nowadays, in fact. So if you're zoomed in, you look more important, you look more approachable, you look more impressive. When you're further back, just like I'm doing right now, it's harder for us to see you. You look a little bit more diminutive, right? Not as important. So think about zooming that in and making sure that you're putting your best foot forward. And on that note too, make sure it looks like you today, or at least within the past 5 years, not 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's so important because we can see you when you get in a Zoom call, when you're on a webinar, when we meet you in person. So make sure that it is a current looking photo. All right, hopefully that helps you out. In here, I usually get a question about what about that open to work frame that LinkedIn gives you. It's like a scarf they put on your profile. My friend Vicky has it on hers. I am personally not a fan of it. I feel like it's too much of a screaming like billboard on your profile. I'd rather have people discover when reading through my profile that I'm open to work. But it is a feature that is enabled and it can definitely give you some additional visibility. If you're interested, check out the link. I'll include that in the comments below as well as in the playback so you can read more up on that. All right, so let's move along. Let's talk next about your header image. That's that rectangular black that's kind of like right behind your headshot photo. This is really a space that you should use as like a billboard for you, a way for you to demonstrate your area of expertise, your industry of expertise, or a little bit about your personal brand. If you've got that background image, which is like that default, that grayish green, it almost is like a landscape flipped on its side, that's the default. You need to change this immediately. Now, what I would do is go onto a stock photo site, and my favorite 3 are pexels.com, unsplash.com, or pixabay.com, and I have the links. I'll include those in the playback. You can go and just search for advertising, engineering, medical science, architecture. You'll find images that you can use in there. If you want to get a little bit fancier, you can do what I do. Use a site. It's called canva.com, canva.com. It's kind of like graphic design for dummies. And you can actually use canva.com to create a header image that is perfectly sized. So the ideal dimensions for your LinkedIn header is 1584 by 396. Using canva.com, you can say create an image in that size, put a picture in there, and voila, then you can upload that to your profile. Okay, so that's my second tip. Make sure that you're using that space behind you to kind of reinforce what it is that you're looking for and the area of expertise that you could offer to a company. All right, moving along, here's a couple of just quick header examples. The top 3 kind of show area or industry of expertise. If you're a leader, you might like that mountain with people at the top of it. And if you work in the chemicals industry, you can use like what the woman in the middle does, something like that. The 3 in the middle actually are using geographical elements, whether it's international flags, skyline photos, that type of thing. And the 3 at the bottom, I just think are interesting to look at, right? They just are appealing. The woman in the middle, I think she actually works in like the graphic design field or something along those lines. So generally speaking, you could use like the library image, like the gentleman in the lower right as well. It kind of shows that you're a reader and that you're a lifelong learner. So just a couple of quick examples there if you're struggling with what's a good type of image in the background. All right, moving along, our tip number 3 is to edit your LinkedIn headline. Now, your headline on your profile is something that follows you around on LinkedIn. When you post, when you comment, just like Kathy Kurtz has done and Debbie Gross, you can see their headline follows them around. Okay. It also is what appears in search results when people are looking for you. So the default is going to be job title at income at company or at employer. If you are no longer working, make sure that you omit your company name immediately. Like right now, you're not working for them anymore. You don't need to be giving them any more love, right? So let's take that off of your profile immediately. Still, you want to keep in your job title, especially your targeted job title. So let's say you were a marketing manager, but you really are more at a marketing director level. Put that as your headline because you are a marketing director, right? You're just not being paid for it right now. That's the skills and the expertise that you bring to the table. So make sure that your headline includes your targeted job title. This is really important for helping you to come up in more searches by recruiters. But I would also suggest you add something a little bit different, a little bit extra, just like Kathy did. She's not just an executive administrative assistant. She's a rock star executive administrative assistant. So something that adds a little bit of your personality, helps to differentiate you from other people that are looking for that exact same job title. And don't include in career transition, any of those keywords, phrases, unemployed, anything like that in your headline, because recruiters aren't looking for that. They are looking for the keyword of that job title. And putting that in your headline might make you appear to be a little bit desperate as well. So we don't want that. We want people to be drawn into our profile, not to be pushed away. Okay. You do have 220 characters. I use all of them personally. If you want to check out my headline, you can go on my profile, but definitely take advantage of the fact that it's 220 max, but focus on the first like 40 to 60 or so characters. You can see on Debbie's headline, for example, it starts to drop off ... when you get towards that character limit. All right, so moving along, that's your LinkedIn headline. Let's now talk about your about statement on your profile. And your about statement is this paragraph description, and actually there's 2,600 characters total you can put in here. But really what you want to do is you want to use the first 3 lines in the first person to describe yourself to your next manager, your next dream job manager. You know, you're sitting next to them at the table and they say, Brenda, it's between you and another candidate. Why should we hire you? You turn to them and say, right? So think about, what is that elevator pitch? What are you going to offer to that company if they hire you? Really focus in on those first 3 lines, make it interesting. Consider the fact that most people will not click on see more. Okay. If you consider they're not going to click on see more, you're going to really focus on what are those first 3 sentences and try to make it very information packed, interesting and intriguing, because your goal is to get them to click. Okay. So really focus on optimizing that statement, selling yourself to your next manager, telling people a little bit more about your background, but focus on those first 3 lines to try to get them to click, to expand on that. All right. That's my 4th tip. And my 5th and final tip about your profile before we go into invitation strategy involves your contact info. So if you're looking for a job, we want to make it super easy for people to get a hold of you. And we also want to make sure that your contact info is accurate. So when you go to your profile in the desktop at the very top, it's going to say contact info. It's a little blue link. Click on that. Very first thing is just review it. Make sure everything is accurate in there. Check the links, actually click on them and make sure everything works. If you have a URL on LinkedIn that ends in some alphanumeric characters, it hasn't been simplified yet. You can simplify that if you follow my instructions on screen. I walk you through that process step by step. Okay. Websites is the next section. If you don't have any, that's perfectly fine if you're unemployed and in career transition, but you could certainly add associations that you belong to. Maybe you're a member of a Troy Chamber or Inforum or Together Digital, another organization. You can certainly add that in there. It shows people how you're staying active while you're in career transition. But if you're not working, make sure that you take out your former employer's website. You're not working for them anymore. You're not getting a paycheck. You don't need to be giving them any marketing advertising activity, right? So take your former employer's website out of that website section. Okay. And moving along, you'll see your email address in here. There's only one email address that we can see, and that is the email that you designate as primary. Do make sure that that email address is your home email. If it's your former employer's work email, you need to go change that immediately, and make sure that you do get that swapped out, because someone might be visiting your profile and have a job offer or have a job opportunity to discuss with you, but they are emailing you to your former employer. And guess what? You're not getting those messages, right? So let's increase our odds for creating that dialogue, making ourselves accessible to those hiring managers. And if you need some help changing that email out, you can follow the instructions. I'll include the link in the playback for you guys. All right, so moving along, those were the 5 tips on optimizing your LinkedIn profile for job search. I now want to move into invitation strategy and then a little bit about posting before we wrap up and go into some Q&A. So on an invitation, it's really important that you think about personalizing it. And I want to help you guys remember this. So on screen is my good friend, Inigo Montoya. This is a line from a movie. If you know that movie, go in chat or go in comments right now and name that movie right now. In the movie, he says the line, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." Okay. He has all of the great elements of a LinkedIn invitation. He has a polite greeting. He offers his name. He gives a relevant personal link. This is really important. And he is managing expectations. Now, please don't tell people on LinkedIn, prepare to die, because you'll probably get kicked off and blocked. But I do want you to remember this technique of using some context when you invite people to connect. The goal for your invitation is to get it accepted. Okay, that's the only goal. It's not to get somebody to look at your resume. It's not to get a job offer. The goal of an invitation is to get them to accept it, because then you can continue to communicate with them and follow up and ask some of those other questions. Personalization is going to be key, and including a relevant personal link, we're going to talk about that in just a second, is going to be one of those factors there. You do need to go on the person's profile to send an invite. So if you get a bunch of LinkedIn suggestions, don't just click on the connect button. You have to click on their name to go on their profile, and then you should see the connect button. Okay. Now, if you go on my profile, we're not yet connected on LinkedIn, you're going to notice that my default button says follow instead of connect. If you see that, you can't see that connect button, rather go to the more button, and then more under that drop down, you should see an option that will either say personalize, invite, or connect. And that's where you add that personal invitation text. So here's what I would do, kind of following Inigo Montoya. Here's my formula for a personalized invitation. So this is like when you click on that box, it'll say add a note or send now. You always want to add a note. Okay. Here's the formula I use. Hi, first name. Okay. So I want to address the person by name. Second, I'm going to say, have we met or not? If we have met, I'm going to remind them where. So I might say, hi, Scott, great to see you on today's LinkedIn webinar. So that's the context. Then I'm going to say, let's connect on LinkedIn, Brenda Meller, right? That's it. That's the closing. If we haven't met, I'm going to use a technique that involves first looking at your profile. I'm going to find one or two items that either we have in common, or one or two items that are interesting to me, something that I can comment on that shows that I've actually taken a few minutes to look at your profile. And that's what I'm going to mention in the invitation. So in this, I get an example below. I said, hi, Scott, we haven't met, but we're both in Metro Detroit, and we share several common connections, including Jason Sweet. And I can see that because it shows me common connections, right? Let's connect on LinkedIn, Brenda Meller. That is it. Short and sweet. LinkedIn gives you 300 characters. I usually use around 150 myself. Short and sweet, because my only goal is to get that invitation accepted. Okay. Try this technique. And if you haven't met, do what I do. Say, hey, Scott, we haven't met, because it kind of takes that weirdness off of it. Like they're like, who is this Brenda character, right? Well, we haven't met. Oh, okay. We haven't met, but what's she want to do? Okay. So she's explaining the context. That's going to help to get more of your invitations accepted, and also a way for you to start dialogue with these people. All right. So moving along, I want to move into our final section, talking here about posting strategy. I'm doing a quick look at my phone below here to make sure we're staying on time. And generally speaking, as a job seeker, you need to be posting on a regular basis. And you might say, I don't know, Brenda, I feel really uncomfortable. Well, you know what? If you want something you've never had, you've got to do something you've never done. And if you're struggling with finding job opportunities, you're struggling with visibility as a job seeker, you got to start posting on LinkedIn. There's no way around it. In terms of frequency, just start by posting once a week. To start small, gradually work up to once a day, but it's kind of like a fitness routine. You got to start that habit small, build that pattern of behavior, and that will help to increase your visibility over time. This isn't just a quick fix for when you're job seeking. This should be something you're doing on an ongoing basis. So I'd rather see you posting once a week, 52 weeks out of the year, than posting for a month straight and then being like a ghost on LinkedIn, right? So try to post at least once a week. You can even post about today's webinar after you finish watching it. If you're struggling with what to post, I'm going to give you an idea, a list of ideas here in just a minute. And then afterwards, you need to monitor those posts, see who's liking it, reacting to it, see who's commenting on your posts, and make sure that you're engaging with those people, inviting them to connect, right? And keeping up with those conversations. So you might say, but Brenda, I don't know what to post. What should I be posting on LinkedIn? Well, here's a great list for you. And anytime you're at a webinar or a virtual event, just get in the habit of writing down notes, and then afterwards posting about it. If you take out a picture, even better, take a picture and post that picture on LinkedIn, tag the presenter. We love to get tags and we'll reply back and tell people what you learned, why you attended the session. What did you learn by watching them? I'm not going to read through everything in the list here, guys, but you can see inspirational quotes is another idea. You could do a poll based on trends you're seeing in the industry, put a 4-option response and put a zinger for option number 4. It's a great technique. I do that all the time. You can ask for advice. You can ask people for suggestions on networking groups while you're in career transition. You could do a post with hashtags, whether it's Marketing Monday for my industry or a hashtag for your industry, right? And you can even tag others in that post. You know, maybe you do a Marketing Monday and you tag people in the marketing industry that you follow, right? Do so strategically and you'll get great levels of engagement, and you'll also increase your visibility on the platform. The goal here with posting, guys, is not just to create more views and likes and comments. It's to drive more people to our profile where they can read our career story and hopefully be able to refer us to opportunities that are going to match your career goals. Okay. And if you want a quick demo of the above, you can type in chat or comment below and just message me. A lot of these I have instructional videos on or blogs to give you some instructions. So feel free to let me know if you'd like instruction on any of the below. All right. So as we start to wrap up here today, we're going to move into Q&A next. But what I'd like to do is, you know, this was 30 minutes. It was pretty action packed, right? A lot of great information. But again, I can't cover everything. If you do need more help, I'm here for you. And I would love to have the opportunity to help you. If you're looking for one-on-one help, if these group webinars aren't ideal for you, if you want some one-on-one, I do offer that. I do Zoom strategy coaching sessions. My full 2-hour session includes a recorded playback as well as a 30-minute follow-up phone call, or we can just do a 30-minute Zoom call. With any of those options, you do get a recorded playback link. So I do offer discounts as you see on screen for those people that are unemployed. So reach out, let me know. You can visit the webpage if you'd like to schedule a session. If you do want help with your profile, but you don't want to go through the work yourself, I can do that. I offer profile optimization as a service, and I do that. I like to call it the DIFM, do it for me model, right? So I will do that for you. Okay. If you do want to have some additional instruction, I do offer an on-demand online course. And basically what I've done is I take my 4-part webinar series, I package those up, and it's an online course. You can sign up for just $29.99. You get 6 months access to watch those playbacks, download the slides, really great instruction. And you also become a part of my VIP job seeker community when you do so. I do have a book, Social Media Pie, How to Enjoy a Bigger Slice of LinkedIn. It's available for purchase on my website, or you can go on Amazon. And finally, if you're just looking for free training, guys, I know, yeah, some of you may be on a very strict budget and not have the means to work with me at this time. Follow me on LinkedIn. I'm always offering LinkedIn strategy tips. I do offer a variety of these live webinars. Many of them are free. I blog frequently, and I also have a YouTube video library you can check out. All right. So if you need help on any of those items, you can go to mellermarketing.com/job-seeker-resources, and I'll have links to all of these items. All right. And I think that's it. And as we wrap up here today, as you're starting to complete watching this video, whether you're watching it live or in playback, I would love it if you could please comment below and share with us one thing that you learned from today's webinar that you're going to implement on LinkedIn today. Okay. And here's a little bonus. You could also copy that and paste it on LinkedIn, and that can be your post for today. You do so, please tag me in your post. I will comment back. I will encourage people to visit your LinkedIn profile. Okay. So feel free to do that right now. Go into chat right now, share something that you learned before you leave the session. And if you're looking for something to post, you could also post it on LinkedIn, open that up in another window. Okay. And at this point, I'm going to end the recording. I want to thank all of you for watching the live webinar and for joining me here today. We're going to open this up to Q&A now. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.